you think about astronaut food, you probably picture something fun like freeze-dried ice cream. And while that's the tastiest innovation to come out of space food research, it's far from the only one. We owe so many advancements to the space industry, from food safety regulations to new methods of preservation to more nutritious energy bars and baby formulas. Space research has also led the way in plant-based nutrition. To tell us more is our special guest all the way from Australia, Melissa de Zwart. Melissa is a professor of law and the deputy director and chief investigator in the ARC Center of Excellence in Plants for Space. In this episode, we'll learn why plants are vital to long-term space exploration and sample some recipes made with duckweed, an aquatic plant that might just be the key to sustainable eating in space. Hi, I'm Sarah Smeh, and this is Space for Humans, Cooking Edition. If you thought growing plants in the window of your studio apartment was hard, imagine trying to grow them in space. But it's a challenge that's vital to the future of long-term space exploration and settlement.
So we need to grow plants in space because when we go further than the moon, or even when we want to spend a long time on the moon, we just can't afford to carry all of the things that we need with us. We need to take the basics with us, but then grow what we need once we're there. And we know that for long-term space travel, we won't even be able to preserve fresh things like, vitamins and the nutrients that people need. So we're going to develop plants that can produce the vitamins and nutrients that we need for long-term space travel. And beyond the need for food, we also know that people just need psychological support. So if they're going to be spending a long time beyond the Earth, on the moon, on Mars, having plants, having things that they can interact with that have that smell of home, that make them feel like there's another living thing in the universe apart from them, the plants will bring them that sort of happiness and psychological benefit as well.
And that's where Plants for Space comes in. This transdisciplinary project brings together experts from across Australia to develop new technologies and solutions for human space exploration. Specifically, the Plants for Space team is researching exciting new ways to grow plants in space, in hostile and confining environments where there's little to no atmosphere and little to no gravity. Think about the way plants grow, with their leaves and stems pushing upwards and their roots pushing down. That's quite the challenge in an environment with no clear up or down. But Plants for Space also had a lot of other factors to consider when finding a plant fit for space.
So when we were thinking about what plants we could grow in space, one of the things that we thought about is what is it that humans really enjoy eating? So what are plants that give people pleasure? So we looked at things like tomatoes, which have already been grown on the International Space Station. We thought about things like strawberries that people just love to eat, that have a good look and a good smell. But we also have to think about how much waste there is from these plants. So how much of the plant is not actually edible? And we then looked at a plant called duckweed, which grows really all over the world in various forms, but is eaten across Southeast Asia as a food. And duckweed is pretty exciting because it grows in water. It doesn't sort of have an upside or a downside in the way that we normally think of plants having an up and a down. And many varieties of duckweed double in size in 24 hours. So this is a food that literally has zero waste, that humans already use as a food, but also we are using genetic modification to prompt the duckweed to be able to perform different tasks, to grow certain vitamin supplements, to be able to be modified to produce some forms of drugs such as painkillers, foods that we need, things that can be used for building materials. So one of the problems with space travel is that we know over months the actual nutrient value or the vitamins themselves degrade over time. So if we're going to Mars, we need to be able to produce those supplements and nutrients beyond, say, the 9-month travel time. So duckweed seems to be something that will answer a lot of these questions that we have. So very excitingly, we have been able to make a burger from duckweed. So it's something that people can use in all sorts of cooking styles, but of course we want something that's exciting like a duckweed burger, and we've managed to produce these and eat these, and they're lots of fun.
And that brings us to our extra special segment, Cooking with Duckweed. Here, you can find duckweed as you might find it in its aquatic environment, floating in a marsh or pond. And here's what it looks like dried and ready to eat. So, How do you cook with duckweed? Today, we're gonna start with a very simple recipe that you are going to wow your dinner guests with this simple appetizer recipe using pita chips, cottage cheese, and of course, our duckweed. Very simple. We're just gonna take a couple pita chips, make it really cute, however you want to display it for your guests. We're gonna just put a little dollop of cottage cheese on top of each. Oh yeah. Super cute. We're hitting our protein macros today with this. You can let your guests know. And then just to finish it off, we have a little sprinkle of our extra delicious and nutritious duckweed. And don't be shy, guys. This stuff is the bee's knees. And just like that, you have a very simple appetizer that you and your guests will absolutely die for. And they will all be begging you for the recipe. Hear that crunch? Immaculate. And for a snack on the go or a sweet little treat, I made these blueberry duckweed muffins earlier. There's nothing like home baking. Delicious and nutritious. It almost makes you wanna quack. Well, it may not be freeze-dried ice cream, but duckweed has a lot of potential as a hearty, sustainable, and nutritious option, both in space and on Earth. Thank you so much to Melissa Zwart and Plants for Space, and thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Space for Humans.
So if you would like to learn more about Plants for Space, it's easy. Just go to plantsforspace with a 4 in the middle.com.